extreme either ends that I guess you're trying to reach, the people who are way out there. Are you getting what you need from here to reach out to those people, the jihadists, the terrorists, whoever, on the extreme end of society there in Saudi Arabia? Are you getting what you need from here to be able to reach them and say, look, understand it this way?
I mean, who are these guys? I don't know them.
But the guys, they've been rounded up.
Yeah,
by
but I'm saying, but I'm saying is that what's their frame of mind? I have no idea. What we're trying to do is we're trying to get the picture across. Listen, the U.S. is about a lot of things. It's not about one direction. People in the street don't, if you walk up to someone, whether it's on camera or not, they don't hate Islam. They don't hate Muslims. They just, sometimes they're lied to, and they actually say it. So portraying that idea that there are people who are sympathizing with Muslims around the world, oppression around the world, whether it's Muslims or not, I think it just gets the point across that the American population is a fair-minded people. So don't treat them all as one. Just try to think about what you're doing.
Is this a groundbreaking concept for Saudi Arabia right now?
I think it's not groundbreaking. It's just that people, because of their emotions, kind of forget about it.
But in certain class segments, it is. I mean, there's people that have not been exposed. Saudi Arabia, there are areas in Saudi Arabia that are incredibly provincial, and people don't meet with people of other religions or other race groups. So the television is one way to break that down. A lot of Arabs now are just feeling they're not telling our side of the story,
and that's why they look for the alternative. And unfortunately, the alternative
is often very biased.
So when we turn up, I mean, I think people are inherently polite, and when we turn up, that's not something that ever we feel that people are treating us in any way negatively.
They won't, but definitely there is a general consensus in the Arab world that Western journalism is biased. It doesn't help the point of view of Muslims or Arabs, and that's why they when they look for an alternative, they look for the extreme, something that is totally biased against the West. And what we're trying to do here, our objective is give them that balance. That you don't have to go left or right. You can have something in the middle.
Also the irony of it is that for instance, Abu Ghraib, which was a disaster for public relations, on the other hand, it came out and it's going through the process, and the American system of looking at these things bluntly and frankly, the process is happening. That doesn't really happen on the Arab side. So people here will often say, well, hey, look, we made a mistake, but we're dealing with it. In the Arab world, you guys make mistakes all the time. Saddam Hussein, Abu Ghraib was a prison. They were torturing people there for 30 years, and nobody ever saw pictures. Nobody ever heard anything about it. So, it's deep, and there's a lot of problems because on the one hand, Arabs want to see people, no, tell the whole story. We feel it's piecemeal. On the other hand, people in the West are saying these people are in total denial.
Don't you think time, though, is helping ameliorate some of that and change some of the anxiety, the anger, etc., that was generated September 11th,
yeah,
etc.?
The Arabs have a proverb. They say, beware the anger of a patient man.
You have a lot of proverbs. And they're very helpful.
It's so that's, yeah. I mean, America is, my estimation of this country went up immensely after 9/11 because we met with the Saudi imam at the mosque in Washington. He said the day after 9/11, the entire courtyard was filled with flowers. And that's where I think a lot of the capital that we had has been lost on both sides. I mean, I really feel that. I feel like that in the Arab world we've lost a lot of capital, and here in the West, and now it's trying to regroup and really to gain some of that back on both sides.
Because emotions are calming down.
That's why my biggest fear is events. Yeah. I mean, these are the things. This plane that's gone down in Russia. Two planes down. I mean, these type things.
But you can't be put off by events. You've just got to carry on and do what you think is right.
Well, that's. But my point is that those people out there that are doing that, they have to recognize and see what they're doing. They're destroying a potential for goodwill. I mean, I can honestly say, as a student of history, for the first time in our long history, the Muslims and the West, for the first time, the West is genuinely open to deep relations and to destroy that incredible opportunity.
Well, Saudi Arabia seems to be definitely opening more right now to let journalists like us.
Well, that's the irony.
To really tell the
That's
story.
why I'm saying there are things that are happening. There are a lot of changes.
Yeah, no, I would agree that things are happening. I mean, your program, other programs, what's being talked about in the newspapers, what people tell us. No, that things are happening, for sure, absolutely. But I think the fact that the government wants to open up and let journalists in and give them more freedom than they've had in the past to talk to people and meet with people, that's a difference. That's helping extend this message. But I think one of the things when I was saying people are cautious when we come and they deal with us, they have a cautious about where we're coming from and what our
But it's a
mindset
culture
is.
too.
Yeah, and we respect that. And
Yeah, I mean,
it's
people are
understand that.
usually
Naturally,
they're closed. I mean, we are.
Turn up on any seat.
What is the word you use? Provincial.
Provincial.
I mean,
Do you think the government in Saudi Arabia is in denial about its need to reform and the speed that it needs to reform at to kind of match the population growth, to match the sort of economic needs of a lot of people?
I don't think it's denial.
Yeah.
It's challenges.
I've seen profound changes. In the last 3 years in Saudi Arabia, personally, I have seen profound changes. And we forget here that they're victims of massive terrorist attacks there. They're seeing it. You know, my own teacher, Sheikh Abdullah bin Bayya, said in Jeddah, he was at a conference in Riyadh, and they were talking about terrorism, and they were all talking about the West. And he got up and he said, you're talking about the West. The problem's the West doing what they're doing to us. We have a problem right now in the minds of the youth outside. And we could be at any time victims of that mindset. Within an hour, that explosion occurred in Riyadh just to drive his point home. So there are voices that are coming out. And I am optimistic about it, but you know,
I'd love to have met with him while I was there.
He's such a brilliant, he speaks fluent French, but unfortunately...
Well, my French is barely passable. From what you've seen, do you think, because you know the United States so well before September 11th, do you think the relationship between Saudi Arabia and the United States, I guess at a people-to-people level, because that's what you're looking at, do you think it's kind of damaged goods now, or is it repairable? Do the countries still have a future close together?
It's not damaged goods, but it definitely got affected. I mean, it's not the same thing. I remember I was here during the Gulf War #1. I mean, people were rallying behind Saudis. You know, they're the support. They're our allies. They're our friends. You don't see that now. I mean, there is definitely a problem. There is a damage, but I don't think it's damaged good. It's more of what we're doing, more of opening up from both sides and trying to understand and empathize with the other. I think it can go back to normal. And the will. I mean, if you don't have the will to do that, forget it. It's not going to happen.
One major thing that I think Americans don't understand is that Saudi Arabians have been allies to this country for over 50 years. They took incredible flack in the Arab world during the 60s and 70s when there was a lot of socialism, a lot of Marxist and leftist ideologies. They stood by this country under immense pressure. And I think what a lot of Saudis felt in the last few years is, we've been over backwards to be your friends, and now why are you just turning on us like this? You know, I mean, isn't that a fair assessment? I think it was very devastating for them, because they're, you know, in the Arab tradition, if you're a loyal friend, you expect loyalty from the other side. And
especially during bad times.
Yeah,
that's when you see your real friends.
So I think that really had, unfortunately, a devastating impact.
So what should the U.S. be doing for Saudi right now?
I have it in one word: empathize. Really.